Okay, Charles, thank you.
Right. Hello, everyone, and good morning. My name is Charles Lowe, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Digital Health and Care Alliance, otherwise known as DHACA. We are an 850 member of people, and we are dedicated to helping our members to successfully sell to the NHS and to prosper in the UK health environment. Today we've got a webinar organised by YOURmeds to discuss their medication adherence system. One of the exciting things about this that I found as I've dug into it is that not only does it do medication adherence, but the data that you get from it also tells you a lot about the condition of the clients and helps you to adjust their care package as appropriate. So watch out for that in the next few presentations. Can I ask you, please, during the webinar, to keep your microphone switched off, and can I ask you, please, to put any questions that you've got into the chat function, so that we can answer them when we get to the questions and answers. The speakers we've got today, we're going to start off with Nitin Parekh, who is the director of YOURmeds, who will be telling us very briefly about how their system works. Then we're going to have presentations from Angela Spink and Anne Bradley. Angela is social care manager and Anne is in charge of the Reablement team at West Lothian. And they're then going to be followed by Gaynor McGinty, who's the service manager for integrated contracts and technology-enabled care at Manchester City Council. We'll then have 20 minutes or so for questions and answers before I try and summarise the event, which will end at 11 o'clock. So let's move straight away then to Nitin's presentation. Nitin, are you there, ready and unmuted?
Hi Charles, I think hopefully you can all hear me. Peter, let me know if you can't. Charles, thank you Charles for your introduction and for hosting this webinar. As Charles said, my name is Nitin Parekh and I'm a director of YOURmeds, and I'm delighted to welcome so many participants to this webinar. I'm grateful to Angela and Gaynor from West Lothian and Manchester City Council respectively for agreeing to share their experiences on working with YOURmeds, and I truly hope they're positive, and to Peter Rhodes of Wessex Academic Health Science Network for offering their webinar facilities and also for their continued ongoing support with us as an organisation. At YOURmeds, our philosophy is that our solutions should be A, inclusive. We believe everyone has a right to use what we produce and that no one should be excluded. 2, that everybody should be empowered. People have a right to be consulted, and that process of empowerment leads to better outcomes. And this is also reflected in the NICE guidelines that they have been putting out for some time on medication management and use within the community. Thirdly, independence. The more our solutions can help people remain independent, the better it is, not only for them, but for society as a whole. So YOURmeds has been designed with these core principles in mind, so that powerful analytical data can be used for improving outcomes. Can I have the next slide, please, Peter? I thought it might be helpful if I describe in broad terms what the YOURmeds solution is and what makes it an innovative 21st century product. YOURmeds is made up of 4 distinct elements. The first is an electronic device that alarms and shows what number to take. You can see that on your slide, hopefully in front of you on the top right, or the 10 number. That has an electronic circuit that works with electronic device. This is actually quite a difficult thing to make at scale commercially. Apps for the user support network, which we'll go into in more detail. and a web-based monitoring portal which shows the data analytics that enables more informed decisions to be made. I think of relevance as well is that YOURmeds is portable and mobile. It works off a mobile network rather than a broadband and Wi-Fi, so it makes it able to be more inclusive for the elderly, lower costs, although we have built functionality which will be rolled out early next year to work with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi in the home. For the user, it's very straightforward. At the appropriate time, the device alarms and shows a number. The user simply opens that number. Think of it, if you will, as a 28 window advent calendar. It really is that simple. The further away from the user you go, the more complex the system becomes. Finally, YOURmeds is a Class 1 medical device. With changes to regulations coming in post-Brexit, it'll be upgraded to a Class 2A with further independent testing and verification. We're also an ISO 27001 accredited organisation, so that our clients can take some comfort that we have the highest standards of data security in place. Peter, if you could move to the third slide, thank you. The workflow has 3 phases to it. First, the patient or service user is identified or assessed as being suitable. Second, we offer the chance for the client's pharmacy to work with us. If they say no, we find an alternative with the client's permission. And finally, the pharmacy delivers the medication to the user in full working order. We believe it's very important that only pharmacists fill our boxes. There's a lot of academic and NHS data to suggest that unqualified people filling boxes can make errors, compounding health problems. What does YOURmeds actually tell you? We're data rich, and that data can be used proactively. We can say when meds have been taken. We can say when they've been missed. We can say when the wrong one is taken. Obviously, that's crucial if someone is taking the nighttime meds in the morning, for example, or where there are multiple wrongs. Councils and support networks can choose which notifications they'd like to receive, and this is tailored at the user level. Again, making us unique. It's very much bespoke around individuals. Analyzing the data helps to build up a profile of the user and allows effective interventions to take place, as well as providing regular or even daily cognitive assessments. And I think that will be touched on later by other speakers. Finally, knowing whether the service user taking the medication is an important component to those who are working in artificial intelligence or algorithms that are aimed to predict service user or behavior. For example, probability of a fall, an unexpected episode, and so on. So YOURmeds offers really a dual role. It's a standalone product that can be used as a medication support solution or a key component of remote monitoring and prediction. We operate an open API and happy to integrate our data with other remote monitoring and predictive system companies. Peter, can I get the next slide, please? The community is a key element of the YOURmeds innovation. Family members, friends, carers, and council monitoring centres are all involved in real time. We send notifications via apps, so you can get our apps in the Google Play Store and the App Store to family and friends, or we can send emails into monitoring centres to advise what's happening. Family and friends have the ability to make an app call to provide immediate support, thereby creating a very strong peace of mind, which in the current climate particularly I think is important, as is the time saving and the real-time information that these devices provide. Peter, next slide, please. It's important to work with support networks efficiently, and informing everyone in the network at the same time is counterproductive. If we all know that we're getting a message at the same time, the likelihood is that nobody does anything. And of course, eventually, people will lose interest. YOURmeds assigns each person in the support network a number, and the notifications are sent out in that order. So if you know you're the last person or the last line of defense, you'd better do something, and you know you have to do it. Whilst these alert messages are going out, they can be monitored by care agencies, centres, and so on, so intervention can be implemented early if necessary. A deeper way of thinking about this point is to think of each user as having a community of support around them. This community is an asset to both the user themselves and the council and the NHS, or whoever has the fiduciary responsibility for looking at that after that user. What YOURmeds does is to unlock the asset of the community by freeing up resources for the council, the NHS, or whoever, by transferring the monitoring to the support network. We define this cost saving to the system as free social capital. In an environment where community has become a strong and emotive concept, this is an excellent way for councils and the NHS to create communities around each user, implement appropriate support, and harvest the savings. Gains are still available even when the service user has no community and is reliant solely on the council. The data on the return on investment below is calculated on cases where users have no community. So my implication is that where they have a community, the gains are even higher. Can we go to the next slide, please, Peter? The proof, as always, is in the solution, in what the solution is able to do. Although this chart looks very busy, I'm afraid, it shows three key things. We've used the data here from West Lothian as being representative of what we achieve. On the left-hand side of this chart is a chart which shows a y-axis of compliance and an x-axis of time. The time is weekly data year to date for compliance of a group of service users in West Lothian. The average over this period is over 80%, it's about 83%. That number in itself, I guess, needs some context. So let me try and provide you some context on what that 83% actually means. If you look at longitudinal studies from organizations such as the WHO or academic researchers in NIHR, which is a part of the NHS funding program, the general assumption and outcome of these studies is that fewer than 50% of people take their medications prescribed in developed countries. In developing countries, it's even lower. The Pharmaceutical Society in the UK, for example, estimates that between 1/3 and 1/2 of all medicines for long-term conditions are not taken. So my point using that chart is, from this sample, the data we generate, the compliance data we generate, I should say, is statistically very meaningful. And it shows that we are actually producing an outcome that is beneficial to the end user. The upper table on the right is trying to provide a bit more granularity to the data. So far, year to date, we've done 5,939 medication rounds. I could have rounded it, I left it as it was. Medication rounds in West Lothian, of which 83% have been accurate, as in the medication was taken within the correct time. And only 11% was missed, and 6% were wrong. This has implications, I believe, strongly for independence and outcomes. We've seen similar results with other clients, not only in the UK, but also in Europe, in Holland, where we've been working now for a few months. And I think it's interesting because it demonstrates the product can be widely used with perhaps local nuances. So the bottom table on the right-hand side tries to translate this data into actual cash savings. And what we've done for West Lothian is that we've saved £9 for every £1 they've paid us. So I presume we've mispriced the product. That was a joke. What I would like to say is that we think that those generated savings are sustainable over the long term. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight and background into what we do and how we do it. And I'd like to hand over to Angela from West Lothian to share her thoughts and experience. Thank you. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks very much for that, Nitin. Sorry I couldn't come in immediately. My teams took a little bit of time to activate my microphone again. That was a most impressive description of the YOURmeds system. I particularly like the very seasonally appropriate reference to the Advent calendar. Peter, are we ready to move now? Yes, we are. So it's Angela and Anne now from West Lothian Council, who will be telling us about their experience of this. Just a little sort of story is that when I was implementing telecare in London Borough of Newham in 2004, we were told that West Lothian was the council that was way ahead in technology implementation, and it's really encouraging to see, listening to this presentation as I have done already, that West Lothian continues to be way ahead in technology implementation. So well done, Angela, and well done, Anne. Let's hear your presentation.
Thank you very much, Charles. Could I have the first slide? And the second slide. So why did West Lothian choose to work with YOURmeds? That's the question. The West Lothian Council wanted to explore if technology could offer alternative person-centred solutions to supporting people with their medication. We currently have for several years now used telephone prompts through our lifeline, but we wanted to see whether there was new technology out there that could enhance the client's experience and make it more person-centred. Next slide, please. So we wanted a solution which would promote independence, putting people back in charge of their medication, provide an evidence-based assessment of compliance and adherence, which could be used to arrange the most effective support to meet the client's needs. Also increase compliance and adherence with medication, which in turn will have a positive effect on health and well-being. Also support and reassure families in relation to medication concerns, because we obviously have a lot of referrals, from families who are concerned about their relatives, taking their medication, or they're not taking their medication and it's having an adverse effect on their health. So when we receive a referral where medication compliance seems to be the only issue, we would progress this for assessment for YOURmeds. So the assessment starts with a member of the tech team arranges a visit to the client to gather information and assess if YOURmeds would be a possible solution. The assessment takes place over a 6-week period once YOURmeds is set up by the pharmacy. This period of time gives the client time to get to know the system and for us to collect enough data from the portal to inform us about compliance. At the end of the assessment period, there are 2 possible outcomes really for the client. The evidence from the portal would show compliance and adherence is at an acceptable level, and that would in turn mean that YOURmeds system works for the client and we would continue to see that as a solution. The other possible outcome is that the evidence shows compliance and adherence levels are not acceptable, even with the intervention and support of the team throughout the last 6 weeks. This evidence will then be used to find an alternative person-centred solution to meet the client's needs. As we've heard from Nitin earlier, the YOURmeds portal provides information on alerts on a 24-hour basis. Every dose of medication of each client is recorded and processed into a report. Due to this, in West Lothian, we provide a 24-hour monitoring system. YOURmeds portal is checked on a daily basis by the tech team 7 days a week. The tech team staff become familiar with the client's usual patterns of behaviour and we get to know the clients and about their lifestyle. The tech team staff recognise quickly any changes in clients' behaviour And in response to this, we would make contact with the client either by telephone and things at first to investigate any changes and things. We may also follow this up by a visit and things if we feel that this is necessary, and to assess further the client's functioning and health. We've used this data and things to ensure that clients who have shown a decline and things receive a medical intervention at an early stage and things which could prevent a hospital admission. And things, we review the YOURmeds reports on a weekly basis. And things, the tech team review each client's overall compliance and adherence. The key question really that we're looking at each week is YOURmeds still working for the client? Is it meeting their needs? During the assessment period and things, review visits will be regular. Review visits will also be used if there's any changes and things in the client's behaviour and in any response to compliance. At the end of the assessment period, there will also be a review visit. As we've said and things, there are a variety of alerts come through from the YOURmeds system regarding missed meds, late meds and things. One of the important issues and things that's highlighted through the reporting from the portal is multi-pod alerts. This is where a client opens several pods in a short space of time. This could lead to potential overdose and things, and therefore we monitor this on a 24-hour system and things, because, as I say, it has the potential for overdose and we need to act quickly. The multi-pod opening alerts are sent from YOURmeds to our Careline 24-hour call centre. We have developed a clear reporting protocol in place for this system. Careline alert the following services by email depending on the time of day. In order to provide a 24-hour response to YOURmeds alerts, we use existing services within West Lothian Council Support at Home team. During business hours, 7 days a week, it's the tech team management manage these alerts. From 5 PM to 10 PM, 7 days a week, the Reablement team leaders manage these alerts. From 10 till 8 in the morning, 10 PM till 8 in the morning, 7 days a week, our crisis care team manage these alerts. So what do the staff actually do to manage these alerts and things? YOURmeds portal is checked for any relevant information. All the various teams are trained on how to use the YOURmeds portal. Telephone call to the client and things to see what has happened. Depending on what information is gathered at the telephone call, there may be a follow-up visit required, and this is done so by the staff from the team. Depending again on what is found at the follow-up visit and things, there may be a need to contact NHS for medical advice. The out-of-hours team would update the tech team if they have been called out during the night and things are out of hours, and the tech team would follow this up and things the next day and take any action that's required. So the benefits and things of using YOURmeds and things, direct cost savings from a reduction in medication care visits. You can see and things on that adherence and compliance is up to 83%. Monitoring daily adherence provides a great cognitive tool that allows us to be proactive and assess packages of care and intervene quickly if we see any changes in a client's behaviour and things which could result in them needing medical care. Also, peace of mind for carers and family. And most importantly, what do the users think of YOURmeds and things? I feel that my YOURmeds has put me back in control of managing my own meds with a little prompt. I had tried various methods of reminders to help my adherence with taking my meds without any success. However, YOURmeds ticked all the boxes. YOURmeds has helped set my mind at ease, knowing that I can be assured that my dad is safe in taking his meds correctly and has the backup of alerts going through to Careline if he opens too many pods. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed. That was a fascinating presentation. I particularly liked your summary slide where you talked about total savings of some £27,000 and a return on investment of 9 to 1. So that's great. And of course, behind all that, there are much improved patient outcomes too. Because presumably if people are taking the medication as they are meant to, they'll be actually healthier and happier people.
Yes.
So are we ready now to move to Gaynor's presentation from by the way, there are lots and lots of questions appearing in chat now. Thank you very much indeed for raising all those. I do hope Nitin's going to leave us enough to cover in the question and answer at the end, because he seems to be doing an extremely good job of answering them now anyway.
I was just hoping, Charles, that it might elicit more questions given my replies.
Looks like Angela's getting ready to. You're still muted, Angela. Sorry, I mean Gaynor. I've lost Gaynor completely.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, can. Yes, yeah.
Sorry, it's just being unusually quiet. I do apologise. Right, so hello everyone. My name's Gaynor McGinty. I am a service manager. My role is around looking at integrated contacts and tech-enabled care. By background, I'm a social worker and I have done many roles over the years. I'm also a best interest assessor and an approved mental health professional. Peter, can you move to the next slide, please? Right, so this is around Manchester's view around driving technology-enabled care. Digital transformation has long been an aspiration, as we know, for social care. It offers many opportunities to improve processes, drive quality, deliver intelligence to support professionals to make evidence-based decisions. Using tech can provide assessors with real-time information about visits, movement, behaviour patterns, behaviour changes to provide assurance for citizens, carers, families, professionals, and it can allow rapid adaptation in the event of change in circumstances or indeed crisis. Preventative tech is a strategic tool to improve well-being, encourage self-management, identify risks, reduce unnecessary hospital admissions, and avoid reactive care packages. What we found in Manchester, and I think there's evidence across the country, that the use of tech during the pandemic is paving the way for new and better ways of working. For those who work in the sector and those who rely on its services, it's promoting change and behaviours within our workforce towards tech, thus developing and demonstrating an opportunity for whole system change and ongoing workforce development. The use of tech and tech-enabled care aligns itself to Manchester's strategic vision around enabling people to remain in place and neighbourhoods through the consideration of tech at all contacts, conversations, assessment, reviews, to enable people to live at home for as long as possible, living well and living their best lives. Tech provides market data insight and plays a crucial role towards going forward as councils focus on their statutory duties within the Care Act 2014, particularly around the prevent, reduce, delay aspect. Tech can be quick and easy to process, to put it in place, and then remotely access that information. And it can also be used to inform commissioning intentions. Tech and digital transformation is threaded through the Care Act 2014, and it can support with greater integrated and collaborative working, evidence-based assessments to clarify using the basis of data, looking at needs and risks, promotes strengths-based working, and moves away from that traditional social care model of a deficit model, what people can't do as opposed to what they can do. And of course, it delivers real-time information and facilitates better communication. Tech during the pandemic has proved it's also supports remote working between local authorities and providers and allows contact and quality management to be effectively undertaken from a distance. Collaborative use of data is key. It can support colleagues across health and social care spectrum. The sharing and benchmarking of data across regulated and non-regulated services is key, as we know, to maintaining a sustainable market. Can you put the next slide on, please, Peter? So YOURmeds in Manchester and medication support. So previously in Manchester, we used another SME to support Manchester to provide medication dispensers for individual citizens who were Care Act eligible. So in the UK, as we know, we've got the, as I've said before, Care Act 2014, and that was around supporting medication management. As part of the market reshaping and remodelling, a range of devices were considered in Manchester, and within that we considered a number of options, and YOURmeds was determined through the required processes, was the device selected for use as a spot purchase arrangement. So in terms of the next steps in that, in July 2019, reviews were completed for a number of citizens who were using the previous device. That was done by a specialist team which we had in Manchester at that time, a home care mobilisation team, along with med optimisation workers. It was recommended that from the 146 citizens in receipt of a different medication management system, 54 citizens were identified as suitable for YOURmeds. Medication optimisation has been involved and agreed for medication reviews to take place prior to a device being put in place. Similar process to what West Lothian have described. Paperwork that was required for that had been developed with all the service managers in Manchester for feedback, and this included a standard operating procedure, a medications compliance form for social care assessors, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a social worker, it's someone who can assess for social care needs and have additional training to support them in terms of confidence. That needs to be completed to ensure reasonable adjustments could be made by the pharmacy and that they was explored as fully as possible. A visual flow diagram was created detailing what was needed and by who. It set up forms for family and natural support to agree who could be alerted to respond in case of any mismedication or wrong doses. And when there was no natural care or support, Manchester City Council will provide that monitoring support, and that was over a 24-hour basis. Currently, we've got no, slightly different again from West Lothian, we've got no natural care and support monitoring YOURmeds devices. That's being done by the City Council. Peter, can you move to the last slide, please? So, in summary, I wanted to highlight the benefits of technology-enabled care pre, during and post-COVID. For me, there is a number of, well, there's quadruple aims and outcomes. It's about embedding a culture, system and behaviour change. And that's what Manchester have tried to do across our local care organisation. It promotes inclusiveness through the use of tech as an enabler. One of the, you know, if we're looking at person-centred care, patient-centred care, tech in care delivery or assessment is improving the well-being and experience of the individual involved. It's aimed to provide greater choice and control. And for us in Manchester, we believe tech should be seen as an inclusive tool which can promote dignity, a least intrusive approach to managing need and risk, which is tailored to meet individual need. It is not meant to be a replacement of self-care, natural or paid support, but a means of enabling and empowering care. Sorry. In terms of, as we know, COVID has further pushed councils and the health system around, you know, needing to reduce costs or efficiencies and cost reductions. For me, the vision of Manchester is about best use of resources and cost effectiveness. And that, as I've said, that's, you know, it's supported by the Department of Health and Social Care, ADAS, the LGA, RIPFA, and then the TSA Insight report has also reiterated that. In Manchester, we've had an external consultancy coming in, and they've also further are driving the capacity to change and to embed tech, because they've recognised also that the benefits that tech can have in meeting statutory duties in these extraordinary times. I think one of the things that for me, I've been in this post now for about 6 months, and one of the biggest challenges is around workforce change and development. That can often be. Sorry, I've got an echo. So one of the things we wanted to do is about improving staff experiences, improve staff confidence around utilising tech as part of an assessment toolkit, and also to make them feel that they're making that difference and improve their well-being by not being as anxious around tech. What we've tried to do is, you know, drive the view and the vision that tech shouldn't be used as a bolt-on, but it should be an integral part of a holistic assessment and review process throughout a life course. And that through embedding this approach, we're creating a skilled workforce, improving job satisfaction, which is aligned to Manchester's recovery and transformation programme. And then finally, tech supports evidence-based assessments, as I've said before. I think data doesn't lie, it provides real data bespoke to an individual need. It highlights what risks are, because as we know, you know, for me as a social worker, it's about risk enablement and positive risk taking. It can be used as part of the assessment or review process. And research backs up the benefits of tech. It's definitely an enabler in care delivery, definitely can provide an early intervention and prevention approach. And it can, more importantly, for individuals, reduce and delay the need for more intensive care and support with individuals coming into their homes unnecessarily, which again, in line with COVID, in Manchester particular, a lot of the citizens in Manchester, you know, are nervous about having external professionals coming in their home unnecessarily and are welcoming, you know, alternative approaches and creative and innovative working. Thank you.
Gaynor, thank you very much indeed. That was a super. Really, you really got to the bottom of the practical challenges of implementing it and what the benefits are from doing that. Now, I said at the beginning, ask people to put their questions in the chat function, and we've been pretty overwhelmed by those questions. One of the features of Teams is that you can actually ask questions of the speakers by unmuting yourself. So I'm going to try to see whether this works and go right back to the start. Claire Brooke Little has asked the first question. I know that Nitin has answered it, as he seems to have answered all the questions actually. But I think it's an important enough question that it's worth actually Nitin unmuting himself and answering it. So Claire, would you like to ask that question? If you would, do unmute yourself, please, and speak. Otherwise, I shall read it out.
Hi, thank you, Charles. This is Claire. I'm actually looking back to find my question. I have now found it. There's a lot of chats on there. Yeah, no, I think it was just a few various questions. One about the kind of movability of it. So it's quite a big package, and if you're going out for the day and just going to the care centre and you only need your lunchtime meds, do you have to take it all with you, and does it still work? Does it have a chip in it? So that was one of the questions. Obviously, large tablets was another question, because a lot of Dossip box type things don't fit those big, large calcium type tablets, and then they end up being loose and somewhere else. Another one about liquids, and also just identifying what the tablets are. How does what does the end user have and their supporters have to know what the tablets are and what's in each box and what they're being used for? So what's the kind of documentation side for an end user and the supporters to understand what they're actually giving the person. I think that that was the sort of key area, I think.
Okay, great. I think you were also asked a subsequent question about open APIs too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So maybe Nitin can try and summarise the answer quickly, because we've got a huge number of questions.
Yeah, we have. I'll try and summarise. If I've missed anything, do please just drop me a message afterwards, and I'll give more details. In terms of mobility, yes, the pack can be taken. It is large, but it's not. The whole pack needs to go. You can't just take an individual blister with you. It doesn't work like that. But you have to take the pack. However, what we do say is that the system works anywhere, so it's what we call a non-steering sim, so it'll find the strongest network wherever you are and work. So in that sense, it is mobile. I take your point about it being a little large, but that's the quid pro quo, I suppose. In terms of liquids, no, at the moment we don't do liquids in that packaging. It's quite complex to do liquids with electric circuits, but we are looking into that. And I think the open APIs, yes, we actually work with a number of other third parties, so we're happy to share data should that request be there.
Great, thanks very much, Nitin. The next question was asked by Alison Parker, and I think it was asked of Angela. And the question, Alison, if you want to unmute yourself and ask it yourself.
Yeah. Hi, Angela. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Just a question from me. I'm one of the project managers on a number of work streams in adult social care. The tech team you referred to as being responsible for the first 6 weeks. What's the makeup of the people in that tech team?
that things that there's a variety that the tech team have been working with technology for a number of years and things, so they're very experienced in working with technology and things and work with IT all such as just checking and things and that.
So it's your traditional community alarm that type monitoring.
Yes, things very much that's at the base of it and things and as I say they work with GPS and things just checking systems and the rest. So they're very experienced in technology.
Yeah, I just wondered whether you had any health professionals within that team, because that's certainly been a question that's been posed in Manchester regarding monitoring. So I was just interested to find out if you'd gone down that road.
No, we don't have any health professionals on that team at the moment.
That's fine. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much. The next question from Jacqueline Clark, which I think is a really cuts to the centre of the integration between social care and the NHS. Jacqueline, are you unmuted? Would you like to ask?
I am, yes, thank you.
Great.
I just need to understand more. I suppose it's Angela and maybe Gaynor. About the funding streams that you've used for this, knowing that there isn't anything available to support something like this from a standing start position. I accept that there's efficiencies going forward, but how there's no idea of cost being provided. Perhaps that's one for Nitin. But can I understand more about the funding stream that this came from? Because obviously this is very much a health situation, people with medication compliance and medication optimization. So where did the funding come from? Is that one Angela can answer, and then maybe Gaynor come in?
Hello, it's Angela here. We have funded through a tech-enabled care money and things.
And Gaynor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, there's always a delay. Similar to what Angela has said, but within Manchester, there's also people have to meet the national eligibility criteria from adult social care, and then there's also the option of self-funding.
So do people who access services pay for the tech, or?
In Manchester, we've as things stand, and as I've said, I've been in post for the last 6 months. As things stand at this moment in time, none of the people who have access to that piece of kit in Manchester are charged cost towards it. That will be part of the review process and moving forward. But that will be, my understanding will be, is the charge that we charge for technology anyway, and in Manchester people pay for the service as opposed to the piece of equipment.
Okay.
In West Lothian, nobody pays for the service either. And things as part of the assessment, people need to meet the eligibility criteria for West Lothian, and in Scotland medication support is free. And things, so they meet the criteria for medication support. So this is just a solution for that. So they don't pay at the moment.
Okay.
Just to come back to that as well, Jacqueline. Within Manchester, we're really lucky because we're supported by the medication optimization team, and obviously Alison, who was on the call before, is one of the project managers who's been involved from the start. So we've got health input as well, because we're part of a Manchester local care organisation around that integrated working. So we're supported with health professionals as well in terms of setting things up and linking up with pharmacies that can put the medication in these pieces of kit. And in Manchester, I think one of the important points to say is we use tech as part of a blended package of care, as opposed just to a standalone item.
Thank you. And I'm guessing your local pharmacy committee and your CCG, like you've just explained, are all on board with it, because we do have difficulty with nomads. Pharmacists find those expensive, and I'm just wondering how we would manage with this situation applied in Rotherham where I am. But thank you for all your comments. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Jacqueline. I think it's a very important question there. The next question we had was from Subhash Sutar, asking about eye drops. Compliance in using eye drops is clearly very important indeed, but I'm going to use my position as chair to suggest that you've very kindly given your email address there, Subhash. So I'm going to ask you if you can, please, Nitin, if you can respond, because I'm not sure that this is that suitable for the YOURmeds solution as it exists at present. So I'm going to move on to Helen Dawson. Helen, if you are unmuted, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, so I just asked a question about, I think on this slide, you'd given cost savings for 8 patients when the initial cohort of people was 24. So I was just asking about the cost savings for the 24. So I think the answer said cost savings were at a broadly similar rate, but they declined over time. Presumably, just could somebody explain the reason for the decline over time, please?
So that would be Angela, I guess.
I think it's difficult as people changing needs and things and that. I think initially and things when we started the project, obviously and things we were looking at several costings and things. And as we developed the project, then we had to realign those and things, because we have to look at what 24-hour monitoring and things costs as well to support the system and things. So that's where the sort of change in costings come in and things and that, because we have sort of had to develop our support and things to support YOURmeds.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. The next question from Alison Parker about charging, I think has already been answered. So I'm going to move on to Deborah Llewellyn. Deborah, if you are if you're unmuted, would you like to ask your question?
Thank you very much, Charles. Yes, we've been having problems with pharmacies agreeing to fill our medication dispensers that we're currently using. And we're also finding that pharmacies are reluctant to take on new patients for standard NOMAD trays. So I was wondering whether the system was based on a standard NOMAD tray or a bespoke package. And I understand it's a bespoke package, but I just wondered whether other areas have had similar problems with pharmacies. We've also been told by our health board that as a county we're using far more NOMAD trays than the other 2 counties in our health board area. So there's also a reluctance from our health board to, if you like, go down this route as well. So just wondered whether other counties have had a similar experience.
Charles, do you want me to?
Yes, please.
Give our experiences first. Deborah, I think you've raised a very, very valid point, and I'm sure Peter Rhodes as well from Wessex AHS, and who's also an ex-pharmacist, can perhaps add some colour to the answers. From our perspective, we actually have had very little resistance to our solution. I think for two main reasons. The first is that our costing includes all the packaging, equipment, etc. So there is no actual upfront cost to the pharmacy themselves. So if you like, it's effectively a cost saving. I've got to be careful what I say when our clients are on the phone, of course. The second reason is that when pharmacists actually look at what we do, they feel that actually this is very central to their role as a pharmacist, which is to help and assist people to take their medication correctly. And so whilst the time difference between filling a standard NOMAD, if you like, in hours, on average is about 20-30 seconds. That's all it is. We find that they're quite receptive. So we actually work with a few pharmacies in other areas in Wales already. So I'm sure if you're interested, we can take the conversation offline. But in reality, we found that pharmacists are quite willing to engage with us for those reasons.
Peter Rhodes here. Just to add to that, as a pharmacist, I'd encourage you to engage with the local pharmaceutical committee, because they do hold quite a lot of cards in terms of convincing their colleagues to get on board with something. And if that engagement is done well with what are the benefits to you, and that complete package that Nitin offers, I think it is quite favourable to them. So it's worth getting them on board early on than imposing, I suppose, is the alternative. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Time is running on, and so I think we're going to have to make this the last question. Jay Vasani, if you are unmuted, would you like to ask your question about patient education?
Yes, hi there. It's a question for Nitin. It's just about patient education and really figuring out whether that is in the offering that you offer.
It's a really good question, Jay. I mean, at the moment, we work with the pharmacy to try and get them to explain to their patient why taking their medication is important. And it is in my roadmap of things to do over the next 12 months is to try and see how we can work with more established or well entrenched organizations to improve the whole understanding behind compliance and why these sorts of processes are important. So it's something in my roadmap, but it's something that we do mention to pharmacists when we do the initial training.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. It's just that I'm working with a couple of people, and this is, we feel, a really important part of the jigsaw that's missing. And if patients actually understood why they took their medication, when to take the medication, and how to take their medication, we might have a win-win all round, mightn't we? So I think that's why I asked the question. Thank you. It'd be great to chat afterwards if you're available.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Okay, thank you all of the audience for your questions. We've still got a lot of them that are unanswered, and I'm hoping that the system is such that either Peter will be able to capture them all, and we will try and make sure that we post the answers to all those questions. On the YOURmeds website, Nitin, and we could also do something on the DHACA website too. If you I see there are still comments coming in and the questions. I'm very sorry that we can't actually deal now, but for them anyway. I've got the impossible job now of summarising 3 really fascinating presentations and some very good answers in about 60 seconds. So just to say, I thought, Nitin, you gave an extremely impressive description of the YOURmeds system. The flexibility of alerting, I really liked. That you could go both to a contact centre or to relatives. Sorry to repeat it, but I do love your comparison with an advent calendar. It did seem to be particularly appropriate. and I was very excited to see the extremely high compliance that you claim, and very glad to see also the evidence that you produced that medications are not taken a third or a half of the time normally. Everyone, I think, has mentioned excellent savings. I thought the savings that were mentioned in the last slide of Angela's presentation for West Lothian were particularly good and particularly worth repeating, although again I do recognise the point that was made by one of the questioners that it was on a relatively small group of people. The Manchester presentation I thought really got down to the challenging detail of how you implement these things on a daily basis. I was very pleased to see reference to the CARE Act of 2014, of course, which changed responsibility and liability for these things. And I particularly liked too the idea that preventive you cannot do to what you can do. I was impressed by the large number of people that you identified, 54 citizens, and I guess had there been any spare time, I wanted to ask both speakers as to what their plans were for subsequent rollout, because this seems to me to be a complete no-brainer. Although, as was said, I think again by both of the speakers in answer to a question, there are no viable funding streams for rolling this out to lots of people. So, given the time, I think we need to wind up now. So, can I thank all of you? Can I thank Nitin, Angela, and Gaynor, and Bradley, of course, too, for your presentations, and a special thanks to Peter Rhodes, who's been sitting in the background there, making everything work. So thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Angela. Thanks, Gaynor. Thank you.
I do hope you can join DHACA in a week's time, when we'll have our next regular webinar, which will be looking at the NHS app, and offers some really interesting opportunities for getting involved with the NHS through that app. Okay, thanks very much, and bye everyone.